Welcome to Reddit Confessions.
The first thing I saw when I got home from the base was a brand new Mercedes parked crooked in our driveway. Silver, spotless, showroom shine still clinging to its skin. And Amanda, standing by the front window, laughing into her phone like she didn't notice I was early, or didn't care. It took her 7 full seconds to hang up and walk out. "You're home," she said, blinking like she was trying to look surprised. I smiled. Surprise inspection. Amanda looked good, too good. Not just makeup and a fresh blowout. No, this was calculated. Lipstick that matched her nails. A blouse 1 inch too low for a lazy Thursday. The same outfit she wore the first time she came to visit me on base. Like she was trying to make me remember something, or forget everything else. I dropped my duffel just inside the door and took it all in. The house smelled like perfume, not our usual cinnamon plug-in. Candles were lit. Jazz was playing from the kitchen speaker. No kids' toys on the floor. No empty wine glasses on the coffee table. It was like I'd walked into a stage set. Like she knew this day needed to look perfect. "Got the car from a client," she said casually when I glanced back at the driveway. "Referral bonus." I raised an eyebrow. "They pay those in German luxury now?" She laughed, but it didn't reach her eyes. "You know how hot the market is. Things are just booming." I nodded, kissed her on the forehead, and felt her flinch. That's when I knew. Something was off. Not just the car. Not just the way she lingered by her phone like it held a secret. It was her hug. Cold. Mechanical. Like checking a box. The Amanda I left 8 months ago would have wrapped herself around me and cried. This one, she gave me one arm and a fake smile. She poured 2 glasses of wine before I could even take off my boots. Sat across from me at the island, legs crossed just so. "How was Afghanistan?" she asked. "Hot. Quiet." "Quiet's good, right?" I looked at her. "Sometimes." Our daughter, Maddie, came home from school 30 minutes later and ran into my arms like the world was right again. I held her too long. Maybe I needed it more than she did. Amanda watched us, sipping wine like she was the one on leave. Dinner was Thai takeout. My favorite. Except I hadn't had it in 2 years, and Amanda never remembered that detail before. She didn't eat much. Too busy texting under the table. By 9, Maddie was asleep, the dishes were stacked in the sink, and Amanda disappeared into the bathroom with her phone again. I went to the garage. Not for a wrench. Not for beer. For the hidden camera case I'd installed 6 months ago, just in case. Because a man doesn't come home from war to find a new Mercedes, cold wine, and his wife avoiding eye contact. Without knowing in his gut, he's walking into a different kind of battlefield. And this time, the war was in his own house. A $4,000 handbag showed up before our daughter's new backpack. That was the first line I wrote in the notebook I kept under the floorboards. The one with no digital trail. No cloud backup. Just ink and instinct. A soldier's habit, maybe. Or maybe just a husband who's been lied to before. Amanda's taste had always been expensive. But this was different. Since I'd left for deployment, our front porch had become a fashion runway. UPS boxes stacked like bricks. Sephora. Neiman Marcus. Something called Farfetch that sounded more like a boutique for poodles than a place she'd shop. And none of it matched a real estate agent's commission in a cooling market. "Business is good," she said when I asked. "Real good." She smiled like she'd earned it. But I've seen that smile before. On soldiers who claimed they weren't scared. On addicts who swore they were clean. 2 nights after I got home, she said she had a showing and left at 6 p.m. sharp. Dressed in heels she hadn't worn since our anniversary. Her perfume hit like memory. Sweet. Familiar. Weaponized. I waited 5 minutes. Then followed. Didn't tail her. Didn't need to. I'd already installed the tracker. The software came from a buddy in signals intelligence. Legal gray zone? Maybe. But marriage has its own battlefield rules, and I was no longer naive enough to fight fair. Her location pinged 30 minutes later. Ritz-Carlton. Dallas. I zoomed in. Not a residential listing. No client. Just Amanda, walking in alone. But she wasn't alone long. I accessed the building's public camera feed through a city login I still had access to from a civilian security overlap. Grainy footage, but clear enough. Amanda, checking in at the front desk with a man in a tailored suit. They laughed. Close. Too close. He placed a hand on her lower back like he owned it. And the name they checked in under? L. Mason. But I knew that face. Even from a low-angle lens and cheap hotel camera. Brandon Landry. Divorce attorney. Local legend. greasy as a Waffle House grill at 2 a.m. He wasn't just touching her. He was comfortably touching her. The man my wife was seeing wasn't a fling. He was the man who would be standing across from me in a courtroom. And that's when it hit me. She wasn't just cheating on our marriage. She was preparing to bury it. Her phone buzzed with "Can't wait to see you again," while she told our daughter she was working late. It was a Wednesday night. I was folding laundry, watching Maddie's cartoon blare from the living room, when Amanda's phone lit up on the counter. Normally, she kept it face down. That night, she was rushing out, hair still damp, blouse half-buttoned, in such a hurry to get to her evening showing that she forgot one thing. She left her phone unlocked. One glance. That's all I took. One glance turned into 10 minutes. 10 minutes turned into a nightmare I couldn't look away from. There it was. "Can't wait to see you again. That mouth on you, dangerous. We're that thing I like." And the sender's name? Not Brandon. Not even a name. Just a single letter, B. But the messages didn't stop there. She'd deleted the big ones, she thought. But Amanda wasn't as clever as she believed. She didn't know her cloud backup was still active. She didn't know every photo, every message, every deleted file was being copied to the drive I'd quietly resynced the night I got home. I transferred the data to my tablet, slid it under the couch cushion, went back to folding Maddie's pink leggings like I hadn't just seen my wife promise another man something she hadn't given me in months. By midnight, Amanda still wasn't home. At 12:43 a.m., I heard her heels on the front step. I waited. Let her stumble through the door smelling like sex and vodka. She kissed my cheek, whispered, "You're up late," and disappeared into the bathroom. I opened the tablet, pressed play on the backup audio recordings synced through the cloud. Brandon's voice. Clear, confident, arrogant. He's a soldier. He'll fold under pressure. Let him fight. I'll bury him in paperwork. You want the house, the car, full custody? Done. Let the dumb bastard try to stop us. Amanda giggled. You think the judge will play ball? He always does, Brandon said. He eats out of my hand. I paused the recording, stared at the wall like it might answer the question boiling in my gut. How long had they been planning this? Because this wasn't just cheating. This was premeditated slaughter. They weren't just sleeping together. They were strategizing, calculating, planning to gut me clean. Amanda didn't just want to leave me. She wanted to take everything. Maddie, the house, my pension, all while smiling across the dinner table. I spent the rest of the night in the garage, gripping a wrench I didn't need, letting the cold bite through my sleeves until the rage cooled into something sharper. I'd spent my life following orders. Now, I was done obeying. Tomorrow, I'd play dumb, kiss her goodbye, help pack her lunch, watch her text Brandon while pretending it was Zillow leads. And then, I'd go hunting. Not for revenge. Not yet. First, I needed the truth. All of it. Because if they wanted war, they picked the wrong soldier. Brandon's office looked like a magazine spread. Polished marble floors, leather everything, abstract art that meant nothing and cost too much. I walked in wearing jeans and a calm expression. The receptionist blinked when I said I was there for a consultation. Walk-ins weren't the norm here. But I knew Brandon wasn't in. He had a hearing at the county courthouse. I checked the docket myself. What I needed wasn't Brandon. It was someone in the cracks. And her name tag said Emily Soto, paralegal. She looked young, early 20s, nervous in a way that wasn't just professional. Her hands trembled slightly as she brought me the intake form. I'm Michael Cole, I said. I've got questions about post-nup agreements. A buddy recommended this place. She didn't meet my eyes. Sure, let me get you some coffee. 5 minutes later, she came back with a cup and a whisper. You didn't hear this from me, but you shouldn't be here. I raised an eyebrow. No. She leaned in, voice low. I've seen your name before. On a draft complaint. Your wife's name too. Brandon's prepping her case. I stared at her. So it's already happening. Emily nodded. He's filing it on her behalf. Full custody request. Claiming you're emotionally unstable. PTSD. The coffee sat untouched between us. My pulse didn't change, but something inside me snapped to attention. She glanced at the hallway, lowered her voice even more. Look, I'm not supposed to say anything, but he makes us do things. Hide things. Falsify things. I said nothing. Let the silence stretch. Let her sit in her guilt. There's a burner phone, she whispered. He uses it for off-the-books communication. And there's a ledger. Client diversions. I shouldn't know about it. Where is it? Her hand shook as she reached into her tote. Slid me a cheap prepaid phone wrapped in a napkin. I copied some files. Couldn't take everything. But if you're smart, you'll get out before he ruins you. I looked her in the eye for the first time. Why are you doing this? Emily blinked fast, like she might cry. Because I thought law would be about justice. Not this. Her phone buzzed. She jumped. He's back early. You have to go. I stood, pocketed the burner. You ever need to disappear, Emily, call this number. I slid her my military contact card. They owe me favors. She nodded, eyes wide. Be careful. As I left the building, I didn't feel relief. I felt confirmation. Amanda wasn't just cheating. She was working with a man who didn't just break marriages, he buried them. Back in the garage, I decrypted the burner files. Not just texts, ledgers, notes, codenamed files, and one folder titled, Client Diversions, Reeves. Judge Reeves, the same man assigned to our case. I opened the documents and found something worse than betrayal. A paper trail of corruption, poker nights, and ethics violations. Turns out the judge wasn't just Brandon's friend. He was his silent business partner. I spent that whole night cross-referencing. The burner phone had enough to ruin careers. But I needed more. I needed to prove it was systemic. Not just one shady deal, a network. Brandon's notes were sloppy. Ego always makes men careless. He kept coded initials, locations, payment logs. Most people wouldn't know what R.E. stood for. I did. Judge Reeves. There were multiple entries. R.E. Retainer X2 via Sandpine Holdings. R.E. Monday table confirmed. $12,000 transfer cleared. Secure docket shift. Family court. JCV.AC. I checked those initials against divorce cases from the last 18 months. All quietly steered to one courtroom. All settled suspiciously fast. Then I remembered something. 6 months before my deployment, Amanda had started going to charity poker nights at the Foxhall Club. She claimed they were real estate mixers, a way to network with luxury clients. But when I pulled the security logs through a friend at City Licensing, there it was. Reeves, Brandon, 2 local politicians, 1 guy from the Zoning Commission, and Amanda, every 3rd Monday, like clockwork. Networking, she said. The network, all right. A dirty one. One photo showed Reeves laughing, cigar in one hand, Amanda on the other side of the table. Another showed Brandon passing him a chip stack labeled consulting fee. No cash ever changed hands in public. It was always wired. Always donations. Always untraceable, unless you had access to the internal routing files like I now did. The camera footage wouldn't hold in court. Too fuzzy. No audio. But paired with the financials? The burner messages? It painted a damn ugly picture. I printed everything. Labeled it. Backed it up to a hard drive I buried under Maddie's old sandbox. Then I placed a call. Not to a lawyer. To Chicago. To Assistant U.S. Attorney Lynn Ramirez. I'd met her once overseas. She handled financial crimes like they were personal. Brandon had crossed her in a prior case. Got her star witness disqualified on a technicality. I still remembered what she said to me that day. One day that bastard's gonna slip. And I'll be waiting with a flamethrower. She answered on the second ring. This better be good, Cole. I smiled. How about a multi-million-dollar fraud ring involving family court, a crooked judge, and a divorce attorney with a god complex? A pause. Then, where do I sign? Lynn Ramirez didn't waste time. She flew into Dallas under a sealed alias, landed at Love Field with a U.S. Marshal and a case folder thicker than Brandon's ego. We met in the back of a diner off Lemon Avenue. Booth by the window. Low light. The kind of place where people sip bad coffee and leak worse secrets. She didn't shake my hand. Just opened a laptop, clicked through 3 screens, and said, "Show me." I handed her the burner first. Then the printouts. Then the USB with every folder I'd compiled from the cloud, the cameras, and Emily's leak. Her eyes didn't blink once. Judge Reeves. Landry. Multiple docket conflicts. Wire transfers from Shell LLCs. Jesus Christ. She looked up at me. You built this case alone? I nodded. Just needed someone with the badge. Lynn smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. You're not wrong. But you're also not safe. She slid a photo across the table. Emily. Her ID badge clipped to a bag. Her face pale. We found her car this morning. Slashed tires. Broken mirror. No fingerprints. Just a note on the windshield. Snitches get silenced. My stomach turned. Is she okay? She's rattled. Still wants to help. But she won't meet in person again. She's hiding in Fort Worth under a temporary alias. That told me everything I needed to know about Brandon. He knew someone was leaking. And now, he was cleaning house. We spent the next 3 hours building a strategy. Lynn would take it federal. File a RICO case. Corruption, money laundering, judicial misconduct. The works. But first, she needed one more thing. We need to catch them mid-play. Not just the smoke after. I want the flame. I knew what she meant. We needed them confident. Arrogant. Making deals like they owned the courtroom. I knew how to do that. Let the divorce go forward. Let Brandon believe he was winning. Let Amanda get cocky. Lynn tapped her pen once, twice, then said, "You trust me, Cole?" I looked her dead in the eye. "I trust you more than I trust my own wife." She nodded. "Then I need you to play the heartbroken soldier a little longer. You good at lying?" I thought about the last few weeks. The dinners. The forced smiles. The taste of her lipstick when she came home smelling like someone else. I nodded slowly. I'm getting better every day. Amanda came home in tears. Brandon told her someone's coming for them. I told her I'd protect her. She walked through the front door like the world had ended. Mascara smudged, keys shaking in her hand, phone clenched like it had just delivered her death sentence. "And Michael," she choked out, "I need to talk to you." I didn't say a word, just looked up from the couch and let her fall apart. Because that's what she'd planned for me. Now it was her turn. "I made a mistake," she whispered. "A big one. I don't even know how it got this far." I tilted my head. "You mean the affair?" Her face crumpled. "You knew?" I gave her a long silence. Let it sit like a weight on her chest. "Amanda, you weren't subtle." She broke. Started pacing the living room, hands pulling at her hair. "Brandon said it'd be easy. That the judge was on our side. That we could settle everything clean, no fighting. But now he's scared. He said someone's leaking. He's panicking." I nodded slowly. "What does that mean?" She stopped, looked at me like she finally saw me. Not just the uniform, not just the paycheck. The man. The problem. It means he's talking about cutting me out. Saving himself. I almost laughed. Almost. Amanda Cole, real estate queen of Dallas. About to be the sacrificial pawn. "He said there's a file," she continued, "that someone has access to his private data. Names. Money. He thinks it's Emily. He's threatening to go scorched earth." I stood. Walked to her. Soft, slow. Put my hands on her shoulders. "Amanda," I said gently, "you need to tell me everything." She looked up, tears threatening again. "If I do, will you forgive me?" "Forgive you? Lady, I'm already digging your grave, with silk gloves." "Start talking," I said. And she did. She told me about the offshore account. The one Brandon helped her set up in the Caymans. A protection fund in case I got aggressive. She told me about the judge. How Brandon coached her on how to cry, what to say in court, how to paint me as unstable. She admitted, without realizing, how she'd planned to strip me of everything while I was still overseas. And through it all, I just nodded, held her hand, pretended to be the good man she never deserved. Because every word she said was being recorded. Every lie, every confession, every ounce of her desperation, captured and time-stamped. In war, you don't strike when the enemy's ready. You let them think they're safe. Then you light the fuse. The next morning, I made her breakfast. Eggs, toast, coffee with almond milk. Just the way she liked it before Brandon made her forget how to be human. She looked broken. Wore her guilt like a badge she hadn't earned. But guilt's a funny thing. It only shows up when survival's on the line. "You sure you want to help me?" she asked across the table. I meant what I said. I told her. "We're still a family. Maybe we just forgot that for a while." She reached across and squeezed my hand. "I knew you'd understand." I smiled. Inside, I was miles away, mentally syncing her confession file to 2 external drives and uploading a backup to Lynn's encrypted server. After breakfast, I asked the question like it was casual, like I wasn't building a legal bomb. "So this account in the Caymans, where is it exactly?" She hesitated. "Brandon had me open it through a contact. They don't use names, just codes. Mine was," she paused, "L 4717. I memorized it. Repeated it back to her like a good husband trying to make sense of a mess. "How much is in it?" I asked. "Close to 90 grand, she said quietly. "Some of it's commissions. But Brandon wired most of it. He said it was part of the settlement plan, that once we filed, I'd need quick access before you lawyered up. I nodded like it made sense. What did he say about court? Amanda looked nervous again. He said we'd win, that the judge would play ball. He's done it before, a dozen times. And if we didn't? She blinked. Then Brandon would handle it. He always does. That was the third time she said that. He always does. Like it was scripture. Brandon wasn't just a lawyer. He was her God. And she was finally realizing she was a disposable worshiper. That night, while she showered, I cross-checked the Cayman account. Lynn's team confirmed the ID. The transfers. The routing strings. It was real. The theft was real. And so was the intent to defraud. I'd always known she was cheating. But now I had proof she was robbing me too. And planning to commit perjury to finish the job. She said the words 2 nights later in bed, soft and breathless like a pillow confession. I'll say whatever Brandon needs. That you hit the wall once. That Maddie said you were angry in your sleep. Judges eat that up. My hand curled around the phone under the blanket. Still recording. I didn't respond. Just stared at the ceiling like a man too tired to fight. But I wasn't tired. I was ready. 3 days later, we got the notice in the mail. Court date confirmed. Judge Reeves presiding. Amanda brought home champagne that night. To celebrate, I drank 1 glass. Then went to the garage and added 1 more file to the folder labeled Final Detonation. Brandon walked into the courtroom smirking. I walked in with a folder. Amanda wore white. Of course she did. Not courtroom white. Innocent white. Pearl blouse. Conservative pencil skirt. Makeup just enough to say, I'm a struggling single mother, without saying, I planned this. Brandon wore navy. Subtle power. No tie. Just that smug grin and a pocket square that probably cost more than my mortgage. They sat side by side at the plaintiff's table, whispering, chuckling like the hearing was a brunch reservation. I walked in alone. Pressed uniform. Folder under my arm. Not a lawyer. No legal team. Just a soldier with scars they couldn't see and evidence they hadn't seen coming. Judge Reeves entered like royalty, his robe dragging a legacy of bad decisions. The room stood. He barely looked at me. Amanda's lawyer, her lover, began. Your Honor, we're here today to finalize dissolution proceedings between Mrs. Amanda Cole and Staff Sergeant Michael Cole. My client seeks full custody, primary residence, and spousal support due to emotional instability on the part of the respondent. Emotional instability. They rehearsed that one. Amanda dabbed her eye with a tissue. I wondered if Brandon coached the tears too. When it was my turn, I didn't object. Didn't interrupt. I just listened. Waited. Let Brandon circle the drain of his own arrogance. Then I stood, calm, and said, Your Honor, I request a short recess. Brandon scoffed. This isn't boot camp, Sergeant. You don't get water breaks. Judge Reeves chuckled. I agree. Motion denied. I stepped forward. Sir, I'm requesting recess to submit evidence. The judge's smile faltered. What kind of evidence? I held up the folder. Sealed. Marked with 1 word. Confidential. Proof of fraud. Conspiracy. Perjury. Judicial misconduct. And conflict of interest. The courtroom shifted. Brandon's pen stopped moving. Amanda turned to look at me and saw a stranger. I walked to the bailiff, handed over the folder. To be submitted directly to the court record. Unopened. As per federal guidance. Judge Reeves narrowed his eyes. Federal? I nodded. Assistant U.S. Attorney Ramirez is monitoring. She's filed for immediate court oversight. He opened the folder. His face drained of color. Inside, audio files of Amanda and Brandon plotting the divorce. Records of wire transfers to offshore accounts. Brandon's texts bragging about the judge. Photos from poker nights. A notarized statement from Emily. And 1 sealed subpoena, signed by a federal judge. The room was silent. I didn't blink, didn't flinch. And then, the back doors burst open. Your Honor, you're on the record too. I didn't need to raise my voice. The evidence did it for me. 2 federal agents stepped into the courtroom. Black suits, stone faces, everything but the theme music. The bailiff froze. The clerk dropped her pen. And Judge Reeves? He turned the color of wet concrete. Excuse me. He stammered, glancing between the folder and the men approaching. What's the meaning of this? 1 agent stepped forward. Badge already visible. Judge Leon Reeves, you are under active investigation for federal racketeering, conspiracy to commit fraud, and ethical misconduct in violation of Title 18. Brandon stood so fast his chair screeched. Your Honor, this is outrageous. My client has no idea. But Reeves wasn't looking at Brandon. He was still staring at the folder. His own name written in Emily's handwriting at the top of one document. You recorded me, he muttered. This is entrapment. No, I said. This is war. And I don't lose wars. Amanda didn't speak. She couldn't. Her mouth was open, her lips trembling. All that courtroom makeup couldn't hide what was happening now. The unraveling. Brandon tried again. Your Honor, none of this has been properly vetted. One agent interrupted. We'll be taking Mr. Landry into custody as well. He's listed in 6 separate accounts flagged for money laundering and judicial bribery. The courtroom exploded. Reeves stood, robe flapping like he might actually run. You can't do this. I'm a sitting judge. The agent stepped forward. Not anymore. He handed the bailiff a signed suspension order. Effective immediately. The clerk stood and read the charges aloud, as if she'd been waiting her whole career to do it. Brandon turned to Amanda, whispering fast and desperate, but her eyes never left mine. She knew. She knew the war was over, and she'd picked the wrong side. I sat back down, smoothed my tie, watched as 2 men were led out of the courtroom, one in cuffs, the other in disgrace. And Amanda? She stayed seated, alone, surrounded by everything she thought would save her. And none of it could. Brandon's face froze mid-objection when they cuffed him. He opened his mouth to say something, probably another speech about due process or legal immunity, but the agents didn't wait. They twisted his arm behind his back and silenced him with steel. That sound, the snap of handcuffs on wrist. It was better than any battlefield medal. Amanda stood slowly. No tears now. No smirking lawyer at her side. Just her. Exposed. Michael, she whispered, as if that name still belonged to her. Please. The second agent turned toward her. She stepped back. I didn't know, she said, eyes darting. Brandon told me. He said it was legal. That everyone did it. The agent held up a warrant. Signed. Stamped. For you, Mrs. Cole. Amanda gasped. Wait, what? I'm not under arrest. You're being detained pending investigation into fraudulent financial activity and potential perjury, the agent said, calm as a surgeon. You're not under arrest yet. He took her phone, her purse, her access, everything she thought gave her power. Gone. She turned to me. I have a daughter, she pleaded. Our daughter. You wouldn't. I already did, I said. And I walked out. Behind me, chaos. Whispers. Shouts. Reporters scrambling to write headlines. The legendary divorce attorney. The honorable judge. And the Instagram perfect wife. All falling apart. On the record. On my terms. Outside, the sky was gray but clean. For the first time in months, the air didn't taste like smoke. Lynn Ramirez stood beside a black SUV, arms crossed. She nodded once as I approached. You did good, she said. No, I replied. I did right. She opened the passenger door for me. Come on. Let's make sure they don't crawl out of this one. As I stepped in, I looked back at the courthouse. Amanda's still standing by the entrance, agents on either side. She wasn't handcuffed, but she was trapped. Because now, the entire system was watching. The social media darling of Dallas just got banned from real estate for life. It started with the license. Revoked. No appeal. Her brokerage dropped her faster than a hot iron. They released a statement. We take integrity seriously. Amanda Cole no longer represents this firm. Her photo vanished from their website overnight. All her listings gone. Then came the local news. Channel 4 ran a segment titled The Divorce Queen and the Corrupt Machine. Amanda's face, in HD, alongside Brandon's mugshot, and a blurry shot of Judge Reeves lighting a cigar at a poker table. I didn't smile. Not yet. Because this wasn't about gloating. This was about exposure. Amanda tried to post a video the next day, some shaky, tearful mess in her car, begging followers not to believe the rumors. It had 40,000 views by noon, and 40,000 comments by evening. Liar. Gold digger. Cheated on a soldier? Rot in hell. Her world flipped inside out. Every curated brunch photo, every motivational caption, now used against her. Even the companies that once sponsored her lifestyle, those perfume brands, diet shakes, fake luxury partnerships, publicly cut ties. She wasn't marketable anymore. She was toxic. By the end of the week, Amanda Cole had lost her job, her platform, her income. She called me 5 times. Left voicemails, each more desperate than the last. Michael, please. I didn't mean for any of this. They're freezing my accounts. I can't even buy groceries. What about Maddie? She needs her mother. I need you to believe me. I didn't respond, because there was nothing left to say. The woman who once posed in front of designer handbags and Mercedes logos now couldn't walk into a coffee shop without being recognized. And when she finally called me again, crying, begging just to see Maddie, I answered. She sobbed into the phone, her words tangled and breathless. I made mistakes, Michael. I just want to hold her again. Please. She's my baby. I let the silence stretch. Then I said one word. No. And I hung up. She'd chosen Brandon over Maddie the day she checked into that hotel. She just didn't know the cost until now. She left a single envelope on my doorstep. No note. Just closure. It was a Tuesday morning. The kind where the air smells like second chances. I opened the front door and there it was. Plain white. No return address. Tucked under the welcome mat like a whisper. Inside, a flash drive. And one line. Handwritten in careful script. This is everything he hid. I'm done. Emily Soto disappeared from Dallas that day. Lynn said she'd gotten a bus ticket out of town. No forwarding address. No phone calls. Just vanished like smoke after fire. But she didn't leave empty-handed. That flash drive? It was the final nail. Not just Brandon's offshore routing numbers. Not just the fake consulting agreements tied to family court settlements. Not just the internal memos between him and Judge Reeves with backdated signatures. It was a goddamn blueprint of the con. The file was titled, Siren Playbook, Internal Only. Inside, how to identify vulnerable wives with assets. How to push for emotionally loaded filings. Which judges were friendly. Which therapists would write favorable custody reports. And Amanda had been one of the key cases. Marked, high value, compliant, influencer tier. I stared at those words until my vision blurred. She wasn't just a mistress. She was a recruit. Used to seduce. To bait. To win. And she walked into it smiling. Because she thought she was the one in control. I handed the drive to Lynn. Within 48 hours, she filed a federal lawsuit on my behalf. Not just for divorce. For damages. For defamation. For malicious prosecution. And now? Now I wasn't just the respondent in a divorce. I was the plaintiff in a federal suit with full government backing. Amanda had picked the wrong man to betray. And Emily? She gave me the weapon that would finish it all. Wherever she is, I hope she found peace. Because she didn't just help me win. She helped me make sure Brandon Landry never does this to another family again. 6 months later, I sat in the same courtroom. But this time, I was on the winning side. The air felt different. Not heavy with dread. Not thick with betrayal. Just quiet. Like the aftermath of a storm that tore everything down but left the foundation standing. Amanda sat across from me. No pearls. No makeup. Just a plain black dress and eyes that finally looked as hollow as her promises. Brandon wasn't there. He was in a federal holding cell, awaiting trial on multiple counts of wire fraud, bribery, and obstruction. Disbarred. Uninsured. Irrelevant. Judge Reeves? Gone. Stripped of the robe. Facing the same walls he once sent others behind. The judge today was different. Sharp. Unimpressed. Federal. My lawyer, a straight-talking litigator from Chicago, laid it out clean. Psychological warfare. Intentional emotional distress. Public defamation through false custody claims. Financial fraud and malicious prosecution. Amanda's attorney, a court-appointed nobody, tried to object. Sputtered out a defense built on pity and tears. She was misled. Manipulated by Brandon. She's a mother trying to rebuild. The judge cut him off. Manipulated or not, she participated in a fraud designed to destroy her husband's life. She willingly lied under oath. She withdrew funds from offshore accounts with full awareness of the illegality. And worst of all, she looked directly at Amanda. You used your daughter as a pawn. Amanda tried to cry, but everyone in the room had already seen the real tears, the ones I recorded. And the fake ones, the ones she rehearsed. This was just a performance with no audience left. When she testified in her own defense, she broke. Mid-sentence. I thought he wouldn't fight back, she sobbed. I thought he'd just leave. I didn't flinch. Didn't blink. Because she still didn't get it. This wasn't about revenge. This was about truth. About custody. About a little girl named Maddie who deserved more than a mother who weaponized her innocence. The judge ruled in 15 minutes. Full custody to me. All parental rights suspended for Amanda pending review. No visitation without psychological evaluation. Financial damages awarded. Every cent she tried to steal, plus interest. Amanda collapsed in her chair. Outside the courthouse, the press swarmed. But I didn't speak, didn't smile. I walked down the steps, suit pressed, daughter waiting in the car with my sister. And behind me, Amanda fell into the cameras, sobbing, clutching her handbag like it might still save her. But no one was listening anymore. There's peace in knowing your enemies destroyed themselves trying to destroy you. That courtroom wasn't just a victory. It was a reckoning. And when the dust finally settled, I didn't celebrate. I just took Maddie to the park. She held my hand like nothing ever broke. Like her world hadn't cracked in two and come back together again. Kids have a way of healing without asking for permission. And maybe I'm learning from her now. Amanda moved out of Dallas. Rumor is she's working under a different name somewhere in Arizona. No more cameras. No more open houses. Just a woman with silence for company. Brandon's trial begins next spring. He'll plead. They always do. He'll spend years in a cell trying to remember the taste of power. Judge Reeves? Facing charges that span 5 jurisdictions. And his poker buddies? They're scattering like roaches when the lights come on. Emily never came back. But 2 weeks ago, I got a letter in the mail. No return address. Just a typed note on heavy cardstock. Michael, thank you for letting me do the right thing. That's more than most ever get. I framed it. Put it next to Maddie's drawing of our family. Just the two of us, under a sky she made extra blue. My house is quieter now. But it's clean. Honest. Real. I still wear my uniform on base. Still shake hands with soldiers younger than me. Still remember the feeling of being the one who left and the one who came home to a stranger. But I'm not bitter. I'm awake. And I've learned something the hard way. Sometimes justice isn't loud. It's quiet. Precise. Surgical. It doesn't always come with handcuffs. Sometimes it comes with consequences. Public. Permanent. Burned into the court record for the world to see. Amanda thought she was choosing power. Brandon thought he was untouchable. But all they really did was make me a strategist. A soldier with purpose. A father with everything to lose and everything to fight for. I closed the case file last week. Finally. And just as I did, my phone buzzed. New message. Unknown number. Hey, I've got a situation. My sister's husband is cheating. Thought you might know how to handle it. I smiled, sat down at the kitchen table, and opened a fresh folder.